So it's December the 16th, 2018, and I noticed that a leak was coming through my basement. My wife and I was preparing for a Christmas party the next weekend, and this is what we came into. So it's leaking from the basement we had done in 2003, and as you can see, the water's flowing down to where the stud wall is. On the other side of that stud wall is our finished area. Good news is the water didn't get on that side. It hit that corner and then started backing up towards away from the wall and into the unfinished area. So as you can see, the water's flowing over the lip of the towel tray that was there when we had the basement done in 2003, and we had the whole basement done. And the water's flowing from there. Trying to call the company. They no longer exist, so I'm trying to figure out how to get this basement taken care of. And as you can see from the seam in this wall, water seems to be coming through there as well. And I traced it all the way up to the beginning piece of it, so it's not all the way up the wall, it's just a certain part under the ground. But that little bit of water flow coming from the wall is not causing the flow into the basement the way it is on the ground. So with all the rain that we've had this groundwater seeping through, and now it seems to hit our drainage system under the floor, and for some reason or other it's not going into the drain, and it came up through the floor. So now we've got to figure out how I'm going to do this and see what I need to do to stop the water from flowing in. I have a mop right now that I'm trying to keep it at bay, but I have a little small wet dry vac as well that I will be trying to use. So I'm trying to suck up this water. I had a 6-gallon wet dry vac to use to pick up this water. So that worked, and it lasted 10 minutes before the wet dry vac was full. So I had to stop it and then take it upstairs to drain it. And during all this time, while it stopped and I'm draining, it's spilling water out on the floor. So after a while, I realized that 10 minutes is not a good enough time to get any rest, to try and make any phone calls. And right now, this was in the evening, Sunday night, and I realized I would have to do this all night long. So needless to say, I was up all the way through Monday morning with this 6-gallon wet dry vac, 10 minutes at a time, trying to keep the water at bay. I did a good job, but I wasn't getting any sleep. And on top of that, found out that the company that I was going to call went out of business. So now I had to find a new company to come in here and figure out what they need to do to repair the problem. But after about 48 hours of no sleep, I was able to figure out that I could get a bigger wet dry vac. So I went and got a 10-gallon wet dry vac and set that up. And that gave me 30 minutes. So even though 30 minutes is a lot more than 10 minutes, it allowed me to use the 10-gallon wet dry vac for my initial pull, suck up the water, and the 6-gallon wet dry vac to keep the water from spilling out on the floor while I empty the 10-gallon wet dry vac. Still, I'm not able to get any sleep because I've got to be up now to empty this thing every 30 minutes. So during that time, I'm trying to figure out ways to figure out how to do this, calling the companies. They couldn't tell me what to do because they said they couldn't get out to me. One couldn't get out to me for a few days. Others couldn't get out to me for a couple of weeks. So in the meantime, I've got to figure out what to do since no one else knew what to do. But I did come up with an idea after about 3 days. So I purchased a 12-gallon wet dry vac to work with the 10-gallon wet dry vac, set them up with hoses reaching in the back to collect all the water, bought pumps for each one of them so that the water would flow into the bucket that you see there. And I attached two flex hoses that you typically see out in the yard to drain the water away from the house. Attach those so they could drain into the black bucket you see there. I also purchased a portable sump pump that you can see with the hose connected. Put the sump pump inside the bucket so that it would drain out the tub into the sump pump pit that I had in the back of the house. As I said before, this leak was in the front of the house, so I had to connect the hose, run it through the back of the house, through the rest of the basement, so that the water would be dumped out there, and the sump pump would push the water out in the back, and that drainage system goes out to the woods. So this setup worked pretty good. I also purchased two Wi-Fi plugs. The one that you see to the right has a blue light lit on it. That was hooked up to the 10-gallon wet dry vac, and the other one to the left of it was hooked up to the 12-gallon wet dry vac. Now, these two Wi-Fi plugs allow for up to 4.5 hours of running. So what I did was set them each up to run for 30 minutes each. So the one to the right would run for 30 minutes, while the other one to the left would allow to drain into the bucket and rest for 30 minutes. So I set them up. This would run for 4.5 hours. This allowed me to get a good 4 hours of sleep. And that way, when I woke up, all I had to do was open up my phone to the Wi-Fi app that goes with these two devices, and set them up, which only took about a minute to reset them up to the half-hour timelines that I would need for them to run 30 minutes on, 30 minutes off, and allow to drain. The other plugs were there for the sump pump, as well as allowing the rest of the units to work right. So, and in the back there where the hoses were, I just braced them up with a wooden frame that would keep those two hoses in place because the tape kept coming off. So as you can see, I've got two flat wedge hose linkages on there that would suck up the water so that now it wouldn't even drain to the other part, to the end of the line of that in the basement where it was collecting water and draining back into the house. So when the one sump pump would turn off after 30 minutes, the other one would click on, so that would keep the water from draining anywhere else and allow the system to run. The reason for the towel is that it seemed to splatter a little bit of water spray, not a whole lot, but just a little spray, and I didn't want the concrete to continue to get wet. So that worked pretty good until I was able to get a contractor in here to fix my basement. So even though the contractors themselves didn't know how to come up with a plan to keep the water at bay so that I would be able to get some sleep, I came up with this idea so that it would work pretty well and keep me from worrying too much about the basement and everything, so that way I could get everything set up. Also in the back behind the wet dry vacs, I had some totes set up with some towels on it, kind of to keep the spray from the wet dry vac, the exhaust system, to spray a little mist, keep the wall from getting wet. So after a while, this was a fine mist that didn't wet up the towels that much. It just, dampened the tile a little bit. So I was satisfied with this. So I had this running for about a week, maybe 2 weeks, before I was able to get a contractor in to fix my basement and have them, they put an extra sump pump on the front of the house as well. So this worked pretty well, and I was kind of happy with it.